This week in Photoshop, we're going to be discussing the pen tool and how we can use the pen tool to create a much more accurate selection than some of the tools that we looked at last week, the marquee tools and the lasso tools, the magic wand tool and the quick select tool. These tools are great for creating selections, but sometimes you need a tool that you have complete and total control over. The pen tool is one of those tools. The pen tool is a very accurate way to create paths. Those paths are vector-based and are going to be saved inside the Paths panel here. And the cool thing about creating paths with the pen tool is that you can use those paths to load selections. Now the path itself, when we're working with the pen, really come in just a couple of different types. You have a very simple path. A simple path usually has one curve between point and point, and then a complex path, which usually has curves in multiple directions. So this curve and this curve right here. 2 points, curve changing directions. So that's a more complex path. When we're using the pen tool to create paths, one thing that we want to keep in mind is that we want to keep it simple. I don't want to use a lot of points that I don't need in order to make that curve. Okay, I could make this simple curve with 2 points. Okay, this point, and then controlling the curve of that path. So you want to keep it simple, and you want to use only the points that you need to create the path. And that's going to take some practice. The pen tool is a very difficult tool to master, but you want to practice this because you will be using it a lot in your career to do all different types of things. So it's a good tool to use, and it's a good tool to master. Now, we create paths with the pen tool by clicking and creating anchor points. This is an anchor point. And then when we click another anchor point, a path is created. That path can be curved by clicking and dragging out handles from an anchor point. And that's what gives us the curve of our path. When you're using the pen tool, there are a few modifier keys that you want to keep in mind. The first modifier key is the convert point tool. This tool can be found under the pen tool. The first thing that the convert point tool does is it allows you to remove a curve from a point, or it allows you to create a curve on a point. So just by clicking a point, we'll remove a curve. Clicking and dragging from a point will create a curve from a path. It can also be found by using a set of modifier keys. Now, when we use the pen tool, we want to draw in the fastest way possible, but the most accurate way. The convert point tool is a tool that can be accessed before or after a point with a curve has been created. So we can click and drag. And our first modifier key, convert point tool, can be accessed through the option key. The option key, when held down, will allow you to select a handle that has been created by clicking and dragging and change its direction. The next path that comes out will curve in the opposite or whatever direction that you would like for it to. Now this can be used after you click and drag out a handle. So I've drug out this handle. I can hold down the option key and I can change the direction of that path, or you can do it as you're drawing. So I still have my mouse held down. I can hold down option and change the direction of that path. The next modifier key that's really good when using the pen tool is the space bar. The space bar, I'm going to click and hold down my mouse, and as I'm dragging out my handle, if I've placed this point here in the wrong spot, I can hold down my space bar and it will allow me to drag that point around. And when I let go of my space bar, it will set it and I can continue manipulating my handles, manipulating my path. The next modifier key is the command key. Now the command key will allow you to access your direct selection tool. Your direct selection tool is located under the pen tool. You have a path selection tool, which will select all anchor points in a path. And you have the direct selection tool, which will select individual anchor points. Now the cool thing about the direct selection tool is that as you're drawing, you can access this through the command key or by using the command key. So when I'm drawing, and if I need to manipulate one of my points, instead of having to go click on the direct selection tool, I can hold command and it gives me access to this where I can do a few things. I can manipulate the handles. I can manipulate the placement of a point that I've already created. Mastering this will allow me much greater control over the path that I'm creating. And the last modifier key that we're going to look at is the shift key. The shift key will allow you to create straight or diagonal lines with the pen tool. So let's take a look at a couple of ways that we can put this into practice. We'll look at that in the next video.